Hello, Lama from BakuDev here and welcome to the third part of our character customizer tutorial series. In this tutorial we are going to implement that the attributes which we select in the character selector level are actually transported into your gameplay level. This concept does not only work for character customizer but for every attribute you may have to transport between levels. As always, you can get the complete project files on our Patreon, but let's get right into it. So the first thing you will have to do is go into your char selector UI, the widget blueprint char selector, and we're going to add a button in our vertical box down here, and we're going to put a text into it like this and call that text confirm, because that will be the text, the button which you press when you're done with selecting your or customizing your character. And once that is pressed, the level will load, so call that button confirm and turn it into a variable. And now we can head over into the graph. And the first thing we will have to do is to add a variable, which will be called attribute indexes, and turn that into an integer, and down here turn it into an array, because that will contain all the selected indexes for our attributes. And after that we're going to create a function which will be called gather period. That's just attributes, gather attributes, and in that function we are going to take our scroll box, we're going to get all children like this, and we're going to loop through it. And before we do that we're going to clear that array because we want to have a clean start. And now you're going to drag out of here and cast widget blueprint attribute switcher, because we know the scroll box will only contain these. And we're going to get the current index, and we're going to take our attribute indexes, that array element, size to fit. That's very important because normally it's just 0 indexes long and we need to fit it to the exact size. And the index will be our array index, and the current the item will be the current index. And now we can connect these two, and out of completed we can return, and we want to return the attribute indexes like so. We can compile, save that, and now we can head back over into our event graph and create a new event dispatcher, which is on confirm this, and it will have an input which will be an integer and an array, because we're going to pass the attribute indexes. Attribute indexes, we're going to name it the same, and we're going to take the confirm button. On clicked we're going to call the gather attributes function, and then we're going to call the on confirm thing and connect these two. And that concludes the char selector. It will give a note that no value will be returned, but that does not matter. Perfect. And now we can go over to our BP char select, and we're going to drag out of the create widget blueprint char selector widget and bind on confirm. Just put it between these two like so. And create a new custom event on confirm like this, and we're going to get the server travel node. No, first we have to create the player state actually, because we need it right here. So let's just create a new not animation blueprint, let's create a new blueprint class and search for player state, select and call ps underscore char selector like this, and open it up. And in here we're going to go into the event graph, add a variable which will be called attribute selection like so, and it will also be an integer array like this. And now we're going to need a event which is called event copy properties, which will be called when changing the level. You can then access the new player state, and because it will be the same one as this, we can just cast to it and then we're going to set attribute selection, and we're going to take the attribute selection from this one and pass it to the new one, so we have all the information needed, and that's the player state. And we can now go ahead and get player state. It's really important you take the blue one down here, not this one. Put like this, and cast to PS char selector, like so, and set attribute selection. We're going to put that into here, like this, and the server travel URL should be a new level, which we have to create real quick. So let's go up here, new level, basic, create, Control S, and I call level char selector game. That would normally be your own gameplay level, so you can just take your own gameplay level, hit right click, and then copy package path and put that into the server travel, like so. And then once the confirm button is pressed, we will be traveling to that level. We can test that real quick. So just hit play, not in this level, go to your char selector level, hit play, and if you now press confirm, you can see that nothing is happening. That's because we need to go into our game mode char select and go to the player state and actually assign it, otherwise the cast will fail. And if we now go ahead and start, we can see that we are transported into the next level, which is nice. So we can now go ahead and create the level pawn. I'm just going to create a very basic one which can't even move, just to show that the attributes are transported. You could normally use your own character right here. I'll create a new one, just select game, and I'll open it up. And what I'm going to do first is to copy all of these things and go into here, paste them. We can see everything's named wrong, but we can luckily just search for the tags and name everything right. So that's the beard, these are the glasses, this is the hair, this is the pants, and shoes, and pops. And now we can select all of the attributes and child them into the actual character, like this. And that's that. We're going to create the blueprints in a minute, but we first have to create or duplicate our game mode and call it char select game, and open it up and assign the player state. Actually has to be that one, and the default pawn should be our char select game, like this. Perfect. And one thing you will have to check in both game modes, you need to activate use seamless travel. That might be deactivated for you at the moment. And you can check the other one as well, use seamless travel, it's turned on in both, because that's important, so you can actually pass through the attributes to the player state. Perfect. And that's that. So we can now go over to the char selector game, select the new game mode here. If we now start, you can see that we have our new char in here, and we can now start creating the blueprints. And we're going to do that by taking our begin play and ending the sequence real quick, because one thing we will have to do, you have to go over to your BP char select, and we can just this, and we can copy all of these, C, and go into the other one and paste. And if we now put that into the 0, all the here assigned attributes are also getting the leader pose component, which is very important. And now we can take care of the actual parameter thing. And for that we're going to cast to PS, or let's actually first get our player state. Again, you need to select the blue one, cast to PS char selector like this. And now we can get, or first get data table row names like this, and the table will be our attributes. Then we're going to iterate through that like this, and now we're going to get data table row by the row name, which will be our array element, and the data table again will be our attributes. And we can go ahead and break the struct, and we're going to get components by tag, not like this. Components. Get components. What the fuck? Get components by tag like this, okay. And you're going to put the tag will be your attribute name. The components class will be skeletal mesh component like this. And now we're going to get the 0 thing, and we're going to set skeletal mesh asset, and we can connect these two, and the skeletal mesh asset we're going to use is, we're going to get that, and we're going to now drag from the cast we've created earlier, get attribute selection, and we're going to get the index at the array index, and we're going to put that into here so we have the mesh which is actually selected in the attribute selection. And just like that, everything should be assigned correctly once the game starts. So that is that. Perfect. And you can now go, we're just in the game mode at the moment, we can see that all the clothing is applied, but not the one which we have in our char selector thing. So we can go ahead and save that. And if we now start in standalone from the char selector level, it will take some time. And like the white shirt, and we then confirm, we can see that the white shirt is actually transported to the next level. One important note, that will only work in the standalone version or your build version. It does not work in the editor instance, because that has to do something with how the Pi instances are managed in comparison to the standalone game. But just make sure that when you're testing that, you always choose the standalone game. And yeah, that concludes this tutorial. You're now capable of transporting attributes between levels. As said, this concept works for more things than just character customizers. This one is the player state is the interesting part, I would say. But yeah, if you still have any questions, don't hesitate to join our Discord or write a comment. I'm happy to answer all your questions, and see you in the next one. Bye.